Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Manic Monday podcast. This is a new podcast I'll be starting today, kind of late in the season, but mostly I'll be focusing on Oklahoma City Thunder basketball, some other NBA things, more consistently Oklahoma City basketball. Huge fan. Gonna play it all the way until June because that's when the championship ends, and hopefully we go to the championship. So, probably gonna do it once a week on Mondays. Got maybe one other day I'll throw in there throughout the week just to kind of go over what games are coming up, where we stand in the standings, and different things like that. Things that I believe Coach Billy should be working on. But let's get into it. So, got about 9 games left in the season. Not about. We have 9 games left in the season. Got the Grizzlies coming up tonight. Grizzlies are actually a tough team. They've been playing pretty well, especially against better opponents. They are 5-5 in their last games. They have wins over Rockets, Utah, Portland, Magic, and the Mavs. So 5 of those games they've won against teams that are definitely not scrubs. So it'll be a tough challenge for us tonight. I want to say last time we were in Utah, we barely squeaked it out, or we lost at the buzzer. I don't exactly remember. But with the Thunder, you know how it is. They're very Jekyll and Hyde. Their defense is on point and they're making their shots. We'll probably win. If our shots aren't falling, our defense is always going to be there, but you never know what's going to happen. So right now, we sit in the 6th spot. We are tied with Utah. Ideally, that's the spot I would like for us to stay in because I do not want to match up with against Denver or Golden State in that first round. We know how Steven Adams does against the Joker, and nobody wants to play Golden State, obviously. But if we can stay in that 6th, 4th, or 5th spot, I think we'll have a good chance of at least making it to the second round. You never know what happens in the playoffs either. So right now it's Golden State on top. Denver half game behind them. You got Houston 3 games behind Denver. And then Portland, Clippers, us, Utah, and San Antonio half game behind us and Utah. Got about 9 games left. We got the Grizzlies, Pacers, Nuggets, Mavs, Lakers, Detroit, Minnesota, Houston, and Milwaukee. Ideally, on paper, I think we'll go about 6-3 in those games. So if we stay in that pace, we should end up in the 4th or 5th spot. We drop and go down to 5-5. We may drop down to the 6th or 7th spot. Hopefully Golden State can continue to keep that number 1 spot, because if we do end up dropping down to 7th, I would rather play Denver than Golden State, to be honest. But the way Steven Adams has been playing on defense lately, we'll probably lose that too. So last week, really bad week. We went 1-3, got really far behind in a couple of those games, came back, was ahead in one of the games. They came back. Our offense is so inconsistent that it's hard to keep those leads. It just seems like sometimes it's hard to explain. It just seems sometimes we get bored with the game and we'll go up on these crazy runs and we'll get up 16-4, and then next thing you know it, they're ahead 10 points at halftime and you're just like, what just happened? But that consistency on the offensive end, I can tell that they're striving to make that consistency. It's just not there. We got a lot of pieces that are very inconsistent on the offensive end. I would say the number 1 is Terrence Ferguson. His 3-point shot, after the All-Star, after that little stretch where he started hitting about 50%, was doing great. I was like, man, if this guy can keep going, we're going to win. Like, this is awesome. Past month, trash. I know Billy likes to keep him out there for his defense, but man, we need Roberson back because his defense is better, and I know our offense is terrible, but I mean, his defense is better than Terrence Ferguson's at least, and his offense isn't as inconsistent. He's not going to shoot 5 threes a game and go 1 for 5 or 0 for 5, so. And then that just gives more shots to PG and Russell Westbrook, so Last week we lost to Golden State. That was one of the worst games I think I've ever seen Russell Westbrook play. He's been playing really, really well lately as of late. After All-Star break, I don't know what happened, but he just went on a tear. At the same time, PG has not been playing well after All-Star break, so it doesn't seem like this whole year we could get either of them kind of on the same page playing great at the same time, which is kind of a little frustrating, but you got two superstars that demand so much attention. It's hard for both of them to get off in the same game. I think us as Thunder fans, we got lucky back when we had who and Westbrook on the same team. They were both really consistent together. A lot of people don't have that when they have the two stars. You'll have one that goes off and one that's just kind of average or below average. But hopefully Westbrook and PG will start getting that consistency down together. Hopefully in the next 9 games too. So got the Pacers coming up after the Grizzlies. They haven't been playing as good as of late. They are 4-6 in their last 10 games. Then we have the Nuggets and Mavs. The Nuggets, that could go either way. They've handled us pretty well the couple times we played them this year. Jokic is an absolute beast. Steven Adams cannot keep up with Jokic. If we have to play them in the playoffs, he's going to average 30, 10, and 10 every game. It won't even be fun to watch. So, I actually, in that last game, whenever we played him, Steven Adams got in foul trouble, and Nerlens Noel came in and guarded Jokic for a while and did pretty good. His play as of late has been solid. I think he deserves more minutes. I don't really know what's going on with Steven Adams as of lately. He is not playing near as well as he was playing in the beginning of the season. I think a lot of that has to do with about a month and a half ago when he rolled his ankle, missed a game or two, came back. I think a lot of it has to play into that. He did get hurt pretty bad, and he didn't take very much time off, so I think he's still dealing with an ankle injury because he is not the same Steven Adams we saw the first half of the season or the whole entire season we saw last year. He's getting torched on defense. His offense is very, very rarely there. Usually when Steven Adams is on the floor, he's guaranteed 15 to 20 points and a couple offensive rebounds. Our offensive rebounds from him lately have not been there. He usually gets those back taps or tips it out to one of the guards. That really hasn't been there either. So I don't know if he's injured, but if he's injured, Nerlens Noel is a very adequate backup. He could almost be a starter in this league for a couple teams. A lower level Eastern Conference team that's 4th to 8th seed. He could easily be a starter for one of those teams. I don't know if he would start on a playoff Western Conference team. There may be one out there I'm forgetting that he could probably start in, but his defense is awesome. His offensive rebounding is awesome. His pick and roll is just, when he comes off that, the defense has to play him because there's those lob opportunities that Steven Adams got a lot in the beginning of the season that he's not getting anymore. Steven Adams has been fumbling the ball a lot lately, so I don't know really what's going on with him. Hopefully he gets better by the time playoffs come around, because if we want to make a deep run in the playoffs, he's going to have to be our number 3. I know a lot of people want Dennis Schroeder to be that number 3, but I think it has to come from Steven Adams. I think it has to come from putting their bigs in foul trouble, because a lot of his points did come from free throws too, because he would get fouled. Their bigs would get in foul trouble, so they would have to bring in their backup or their third string big. And when you have Paul George and Westbrook going down the lane against their third string big, who are you going to take? So we need to emphasize a little bit more on getting Steven Adams the ball. Our foul troubles have been terrible lately. The first half of the season, Paul George was not coming close to fouling out. The past couple games, it's been almost like he's about to foul out every game, which is which a lot of people are really upset with Billy Donovan's rotations, but I think a lot of that has to play into it because we've been giving careless fouls lately. In that game against Toronto, I think Paul George, two of the fouls he shouldn't have gotten called on, but he was playing way too aggressive with 4 and 5 fouls, and it seems like when he gets the more fouls, the more aggressive he plays, and you just sit back and you're like, oh my god, please don't get a foul, please don't get a foul. But he needs to. I would like to see him play more defense without fouling because he's going to be somebody we need on the court. And if a game goes to overtime and he happens to foul out like he did against Toronto, you guys saw what happened. I mean, we didn't score until the last minute of that game in overtime, I was actually at that game, so it was a bit heartbreaking because we were down 11 points with 3 minutes left, and we came back to tie it, and I was going crazy. I was on a cloud nine. I was like, wow, I can't believe we came back to tie this. And then we just stunk it up in overtime, and that was one of the most frustrating games I've ever been at. The whole entire time I was frustrated. There was about a 3-minute span where I was extremely happy, and the very end I was frustrated. The past 4 games I've been to, we've lost, so I am no longer going to another Thunder game. That's a lie. I will. But, man, hopefully we can make some damage in the playoffs. I don't know if we're just getting tired with the season. We just want the playoffs to hurry up and start. But when you get in that, teams that I've noticed that have gotten that momentum where they get bored with the season, they start building bad habits, and it's hard to get over those bad habits the second the playoffs start. We did the exact same thing last year. Played really well in the beginning of the season. Thought we could coast until the playoffs, started building up these bad habits on defense, and then next thing you know, we lose to a rookie-led Utah Jazz team. That was really, really good defensively. We have to come in with the mindset every single night that this is a do or die game. I mean, we're in the Western Conference. You guys see how it goes. You could drop from 3rd to 9th overnight. We're definitely not going to drop to 9th. We pretty much have the playoffs in lock, so we're guaranteed to at least make the playoffs. But we definitely don't want that 8 and 7 seed. That would be atrocious if we got that because we would lose in the first round to Golden State. Especially the way we've been playing as of late, to have to go straight into the playoffs, and then a lot of teams get their momentum in the playoffs. So say we go in and we play Houston in the first round, I think we would beat Houston. You got Paul George guarding James Harden, you got Westbrook guarding Chris Paul, or Terrence Ferguson guarding Chris Paul, whoever you want to throw at him. I think we match up extremely well with Houston, Portland, and the Clippers. I do not think we match up well against Denver. I think when we play in Denver, I don't know if it's the altitude or what, but they definitely have a home court advantage. Nobody matches up well against Golden State, obviously. They're the favorites. But if we could avoid playing Golden State in that first round, even the second round, kind of build up some momentum and say we face them in the conference finals, well, we have our confidence going. We're in the conference finals. It's kind of like Houston last year, Nobody thought Houston was going to challenge Golden State, and look what happens. I feel we're just as good as that Houston team that took Golden State to 7 games. Not only that, I don't think Golden State is as good as they were last year. I think they have too many stars at this point, and Boogie is a liability on the defensive end. You can put him in the pick and rolls. I think we match up really well with Golden State. I don't think that last game was indicative of how we would actually play against Golden State. If we do end up playing against them, Russell Westbrook would need to, keep his emotions intact. He got way too in his feelings that game. It was an atrocity. One of the worst games I've ever seen Westbrook playing in my life. And I've watched at least 95% of Thunder games since they've been in Oklahoma City. And I've never, ever, ever seen him play like that. It was the weirdest thing. So, But yeah, just really looking forward to the playoffs coming up. I'll be doing these podcasts a couple days a week. If any of you fans want to call in, if I have any fans, if anybody wants to call in and get on the podcast with me, debate, talk over things, it doesn't have to be just Thunder related. We can go over all kinds of things. But looking forward to it. I think a couple things, we need to really focus on as the Thunder side of it. Like I said, it's Steven Adams. So 4 things we need to focus on in these next couple games. Steven Adams, that's big. We have to figure out how to get him more involved in the offense. He does a lot for our team that I don't think a lot of people realize. And after this last game, it wasn't this last game. It was the Toronto game before that. Steven fumbled the pass and went to give Westbrook a high five, and Westbrook just kind of like shrugged him off and was irritated with him. And, I think not only is his confidence down, I think he's injured. I think a couple other things are going on. You never know what's going on. But shout out to Steven Adams, our Kiwi. I got family over in New Zealand. They're huge Steven Adams fans, so he's a big component on our team. He has to be there for the playoffs. We have to have him in the right state of mind. Have to get him going. So another thing we need to really focus on is rotations. Donovan is notorious for pulling out the hot hand, and I don't know why he does it. I don't know. He is set in stone on his rotations. But I don't think that's something that you should tinker with. Paul George just scored 9 points in a row. Even though you're pulling him out at the beginning of the fourth, let him stay in the fourth. He's got his rhythm going. Let him keep going, and once he misses a shot, you can pull him out. Let him rest for a couple minutes. Same thing happens with Nader. There was a game, I want to say it was against Golden State last week, where Nader went 9 points in a row, had his confidence going, was flexing. We had brought it down to 9 points, and then he brings back in all the starters, and next thing you know, we're down by 19. We didn't score another point for the next 10 points. He's notorious for that, man, and it's frustrating when you have your bench players out there and they're playing well, and our starters are playing like crap, and we're down by 12 points, and our bench brings us back to within like 2 or 3 points, and then he puts all the starters back in, and next thing you know, we're down 15 again. I think he needs to learn how to go with the hot hand more often than not, because it doesn't make sense to me. You have these people out there, they're rolling, they're going. Why don't you stick with them? It really doesn't make sense with me. PG, he hasn't been the same since All-Star break. I think a lot of that has to do with the shoulder injury. I don't know what's really going on there. It seems like the day Westbrook started going off, PG just started slipping off. But he's got to get back into his right state of mind. We need him going for 30 every night. We don't need Westbrook going for 30. I could easily go back to Westbrook doing the 20, 15, and 15, or 15, 15, and 15. I think when Westbrook is getting everybody involved and he's all over the floor and he's not worried about scoring, I think that boosts our team so much. I think it gives everybody else confidence. And when he's not taking those, non-good basketball shots, our team is rolling. And I don't know if you noticed, but since PG's kind of slipped off and Westbrook's been more dominant on the offensive end, his defense has kind of slacked off. But not only that, it's just we haven't had a great record since. So, the ingredients are all in the beginning of the season. You can see how that was supposed to go. I do know we had a very, very easy schedule to start off the season, but they're all teams, they're all playing. We shouldn't have the schedule. There's a bunch of losses that we've had over the past couple weeks. We should not have lost. But yeah, our free throws, they need to hire a free throw coach like bad. Yesterday they needed to hire a free throw coach. It is terrible. That Toronto game, we would have won that had we made all of our free throws. just everybody and people that shoot a decent free throw. Like Paul George is, I saw him miss 2 free throws in a row the other day. He's an 86% free throw shooter. I mean, come on, man. Um, our defense. So I hear on ESPN, they have the best defense, second best defense. They're a top 5 defense, this and that. They don't. I don't think they watch our games because I don't think our defense. I don't know where they're pulling these stats from. I don't think our defense is as good as a lot of people say. I think we have a solid defense when we want to be, but I think we get a lot of laps in our defense and we don't stay consistent with it the whole game, which is why teams come back 20 points on us, or why we go down 20 because our offense isn't that awesome. Um, but our 3-point shot defense, teams tear us up on the 3-point shot. We let them just fire away, and there's always one player on the other team that just goes absolutely bonkers every single time we play whatever team it is. Whether it's Denver and Jokic, or whether it's LaMarcus Aldridge in San Antonio, Steph Curry, Danilo Gallinari, I don't know what it is, but when he plays the Thunder, he goes off. Every team we play against, there's always one guy who's having a career night. Lou Williams the other night, career night. And it's mostly 3 points. If you look at the person's 3-point shots, they usually go like 7 for 12 from 3-point line. And that's just, we have to get up closer on these guys. They can't just be shooting wide open threes. It's crazy. But yeah, that's just a couple things we got going on. Hopefully here in the next week, we'll have some wins. Hopefully we can go 3-0 in the next 3 games. I do think we'll beat the Grizzlies tonight. Like I said, they get up for big games. They have a lot of young players towards the end of the season. They really, really like to get up for big games. Put their names out there, because those games are going to be watched. The Pacers, without Victor Oladipo, that's kind of a 50-50, can go either way. They still got Miles Turner, still got Sabonis. They're solid team. Then we have the Nuggets after that. I pray we win that game. I think we should win that game. I think we are better than the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets have a lot more to prove. So when we do play the Nuggets, I think a lot of it comes out. They have so much to prove that their willingness to do the dirty work to get it done is uncanny. I mean, they kill it. Shout out to the Nuggets this year. I thought they were going to make the playoffs last year over Utah and make a decent run. They were a year behind. They went from not being in the playoffs to being the 2nd seed, depending them and Golden State jockeying for 1st and 2nd place. If they get 1st place and we get 8th place, I would rather that than Golden State. So, but yeah, if we can go 3-0 in those next games, I think that can set up for a really good rest of the season. Because after that, you got the Mavs, Lakers, and Detroit. We should win all 3 of those games. And then you got Minnesota, Houston, and Milwaukee. We could go 1-3 in those games, but we could easily go 6-0 and then go 1-3 to end the season. But there's a potential we could go 6-3. That's ideally what I think will probably happen. If we lose to the teams we should lose to and beat the teams we should beat. The Nuggets will probably, I hope, like I said, any Thunder game I hope we win. But looking at it on paper, the Nuggets we should ideally lose, Houston we may lose, and Milwaukee we may lose. Grizzlies, Pacers, Mavs, Lakers, Detroit, and Minnesota we should win. So I see us going about 6-3 in that last 10 games. So if we can do that, I think we'll end up in that 6th or 5th spot. But at this point, I think getting up to that 4th spot where Portland is right now is going to be, we'd have to go 9-0. They would have to lose 3 games, basically. I just don't I don't see us getting home court advantage this playoffs, but you never know. I mean, teams are jockeying for positions. There could be a 7-way tie to end, or a 6-way tie. There won't be a 7-way tie. I think Denver will end up edging out Golden State and getting the number 1 seed. So if we do fall to that 7 seed, I think we'll end up playing Golden State. But got a lot of stuff coming up. So if I were to go 1 for 8 on teams I would rather play over not playing, it would be San Antonio, probably number 1. I would love to play San Antonio. Actually, scratch that. Clippers, number 1. I would play Clippers. That would be the first team I'd love to play. Hopefully they can jump up into that 4th spot. Portland can lose a couple games and we can jump up to the 5th spot, because I do think we would beat the Clippers in a 7-game series. Second would be San Antonio. I don't know how that would happen, but I'd like to play San Antonio. Third would be Portland. I think we could beat Portland. Fourth would be Houston, Utah, Denver, and then Golden State. Those are my list of 8 teams I would like to play in the playoffs. But other than that, so that's my podcast. It's called the Manic Monday Podcast. Going to be going over mostly Thunder. I'll have a Thunder podcast, and I'll also do an NBA podcast, and maybe just a generalization of all sports. My first ever podcast, so hope you guys like it. Subscribe if you could, like my video, and I'll have some, live streams of the game tonight, just kind of going over what I think we should work on and how frustrated I am. So let's have a good night. Let's beat the Grizzlies. I predict a 105-98 win. Westbrook getting a triple-double. PG's going to go for 30. Schroeder's going to come up big in the third. Probably score 18 to 25 points, somewhere in that range. So let's have a good one.